When you stop caring about her, it's not about becoming indifferent or shutting down your emotions completely. Instead, it's about reclaiming your energy and redirecting it to where it truly matters yourself. Emotional detachment is not an act of revenge or a tactic to hurt someone else. It's an intentional decision to prioritize your self-worth and emotional health. This journey begins with recognizing that your happiness should never be tied solely to another person's approval, attention, or validation. Often in relationships or situations where you care deeply about someone, there's a tendency to overinvest emotionally. You pour your energy into them, trying to meet their needs, fix their problems, or make them happy, sometimes at the expense of your own well-being. While caring is an essential part of any meaningful relationship, it can become harmful when it's one-sided or when it crosses into the realm of self-sacrifice. The imbalance leads to feelings of frustration, inadequacy, and resentment. It's as though you're running on an emotional treadmill, expending effort but not moving forward. Stopping this cycle doesn't mean shutting down your ability to love or connect with others. Instead, it's about learning to set boundaries and understanding that your value is not determined by someone else's behavior. Emotional detachment requires a shift in perspective, a realization that your worth isn't tied to how much you give or how much someone reciprocates. It's about deciding that you deserve to prioritize yourself and that you have the right to step back when a relationship or dynamic starts to drain rather than nourish you. This process is not easy. Initially, you might feel a sense of guilt or fear. Questions like, what if they think I don't care anymore, or what if they move on without me, might surface. These are natural thoughts because you've likely conditioned yourself to believe that your role in the relationship is to give endlessly. But here's the truth: genuine love and connection aren't about constant sacrifice or proving your worth. They're about mutual respect, understanding, and balance. When you stop overextending yourself, you create room for healthier dynamics to emerge. One of the first things you notice when you stop caring in the way you used to is the space it creates in your mind and heart. The mental clutter of overthinking, wondering what they're doing, why they didn't respond a certain way, or how you can make things better starts to clear. This mental clarity is incredibly liberating. It allows you to focus on what truly matters to you, whether it's your personal goals, passions, or simply taking the time to relax and recharge. You begin to realize how much energy you were investing in someone else, energy that could be redirected toward your own growth and happiness. This redirection of energy is transformative. Instead of fixating on someone else's actions or feelings, you start paying attention to your own. You might find yourself rediscovering hobbies you've neglected, pursuing dreams you put on hold, or building deeper connections with friends and family. You start to see the value in your own company, in being at peace with yourself. This shift doesn't just improve your quality of life, it also changes how others perceive you. When you exude self-assurance and independence, you become more attractive, not in a superficial way, but in a way that reflects your inner strength and self-respect. The act of detaching also sends a powerful message to the person you step back from. It's not about punishing them or trying to manipulate their emotions. It's about showing through your actions that your world doesn't revolve around their presence. This can be a wake-up call for them. They might start to reflect on their own behavior, realizing that they've taken your care and attention for granted. Or they might not react at all, which is equally revealing. Their response or lack thereof gives you clarity about their role in your life and whether they truly value you. Through this journey of emotional detachment, you also develop resilience. You learn that you can survive and thrive without relying on someone else to fulfill your emotional needs. This doesn't mean you stop wanting love or connection, but you approach relationships from a place of strength rather than neediness. You understand that you're complete on your own and that any relationship should complement your life, not define it. Ultimately, stopping the cycle of overcaring is an act of self-love. It's about reclaiming your power, respecting your own boundaries, and choosing to focus on what brings you joy and fulfillment. It's a reminder that you deserve to be treated with the same care and consideration you've given to others. By stepping back, you're not just protecting your heart, you're also opening yourself up to a life where your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's actions, but is firmly rooted in your own choices and values. When you stop caring excessively about someone who doesn't reciprocate, you begin to reclaim control over your emotional landscape. The most transformative part of this process is recognizing how much energy you've been investing in someone else's approval and how freeing it is to redirect that energy toward yourself. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means stepping into a place of self-respect where you prioritize your needs, aspirations, and boundaries. It's about saying, I am enough, and I won't let anyone else dictate my worth. Initially, there's often a struggle with letting go of the emotional attachment. You've likely conditioned yourself to think that caring deeply equates to proving your value or maintaining a connection. However, this perspective can trap you in a cycle of overthinking and emotional labor that yields little in return. You might spend countless hours analyzing their behavior, interpreting their words, or wondering why they don't reciprocate your efforts. These thoughts not only drain your mental energy, but also rob you of the joy of living in the present moment. When you decide to stop pouring so much energy into someone else, a remarkable shift begins to occur. You create space for reflection, allowing you to assess your own feelings and priorities. You start asking yourself important questions. Am I giving too much? Why do I feel the need to overcompensate? What am I hoping to achieve by overextending myself? These questions might feel uncomfortable at first, but they're crucial for breaking free from the cycle of emotional overinvestment. As you gain clarity, you start to recognize patterns of behavior that were previously invisible to you. You see how often you prioritize someone else's needs over your own, how much you sacrificed in hopes of earning their affection, and how little you've received in return. This realization can be painful, but it's also empowering. It's a wake-up call that helps you understand that you deserve more respect, more care, and more balance in your relationships. Once you reach this point of awareness, you begin to shift your focus inward. Instead of chasing after someone else's approval, you start building a deeper relationship with yourself. This might involve pursuing hobbies you've neglected, setting new goals, or simply taking time to rest and recharge. You realize that your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's actions or feelings, but on your own choices and mindset. This is where true empowerment begins. When you start prioritizing yourself, the energy that you once directed outward begins to flow inward. This shift is transformative because it allows you to grow, heal, and flourish. You may discover hidden talents, revive old passions, or cultivate new ones. You might deepen your connections with friends and family or invest time in personal development. Whatever path you choose, the key is that you're no longer waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You're taking charge of your own happiness. This internal shift doesn't just affect you, it also changes how others perceive and interact with you. When you exude confidence and self-respect, people are naturally drawn to you. They see you as someone who values themselves and doesn't settle for less than they deserve. This can be a turning point in your relationships as it sets a new standard for how others should treat you. The person you step back from may also take notice. Your decision to stop over-caring sends a clear message you're no longer willing to play by their rules or be taken for granted. This might prompt them to reflect on their own behavior, realizing that they've lost someone who genuinely cared for them. Or they might not react at all, which is equally valuable information. Their response or lack thereof reveals their true level of investment in the relationship, giving you the clarity to decide whether they're worth your time and energy. Through this journey, you develop a deeper sense of resilience and self-worth. You learn that you don't need someone else's validation to feel whole and that you're capable of creating a fulfilling life on your own terms. This doesn't mean closing yourself off to love or connection, but approaching relationships from a place of strength rather than neediness. You understand that love should complement your life, not consume it, and that mutual respect and reciprocity are non-negotiable. Stopping the cycle of overcaring is ultimately an act of self-love. It's about honoring your boundaries, respecting your emotions, and choosing to focus on what truly matters to you. It's a powerful reminder that your happiness isn't something you need to earn from others. It's something you create for yourself. And when you embrace this mindset, you unlock a new level of freedom, confidence, and fulfillment. When you stop caring excessively about someone who doesn't appreciate you, one of the most profound changes occurs in how you begin to rebuild your self-esteem and sense of independence. This phase is not about proving anything to anyone else, but about reconnecting with the essence of who you are, free from the weight of external validation. It's a transformative journey, one that demands introspection and courage, as it invites you to rediscover the strength and value that have always resided within you. Initially, stepping back from someone you've cared for deeply can feel like losing a part of yourself. You might find yourself questioning your choices and wondering if you did enough to maintain the connection. This inner conflict is natural because for so long, your identity may have been intertwined with their approval or attention. But as you sit with these feelings, you start to realize something important. You're not defined by someone else's acknowledgement of your worth. You are a whole, complete individual capable of finding joy and fulfillment within yourself. This realization marks the beginning of an empowering shift in perspective. You stop focusing on what you've lost and start paying attention to what you've gained: freedom, clarity, and the opportunity to grow. This growth is not just about leaving behind unhealthy patterns, but about cultivating new habits and mindsets that serve your well-being. You begin to set boundaries, not as a form of punishment toward others, but as a declaration of self-respect. You learn to say no to situations and people that drain your energy, and yes to those that uplift and inspire you. As you rebuild your self-esteem, you start to see the world differently. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach now appear within your grasp because you're no longer weighed down by self-doubt. You might take up a new hobby, pursue a long-held dream, or explore interests that you've set aside. This period of self-discovery is invigorating because it's driven by your own desires and passions rather than the need to impress or please someone else. It's about living authentically and unapologetically, embracing who you are in all your complexity and beauty. The process of reclaiming your independence also extends to your emotional world. You begin to notice how much peace comes from detaching yourself from others' opinions and actions. Where you once might have felt anxious or insecure about how someone perceived you, now you feel a sense of calm and confidence. You understand that their approval doesn't determine your value and that your happiness isn't dependent on their recognition. This emotional independence is liberating because it allows you to navigate life with a greater sense of control and balance. When you stop over-caring, you also give yourself permission to prioritize your own well-being. You might start practicing self-care in ways you've neglected, whether that's taking time to rest, exercising regularly, or spending quality time with loved ones. You realize that taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. By nurturing your physical, mental, and emotional health, you become stronger and more resilient, better equipped to handle whatever challenges come your way. This renewed focus on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about others altogether. It means you learn to care in a way that's healthy and sustainable. You understand that love and compassion are best shared from a place of abundance, not scarcity. By filling your own cup first, you're able to give more authentically and generously to those who truly value and appreciate you. Interestingly, as you grow in self-confidence and independence, others often take notice. The person you step back from may start to see you in a new light, realizing the strength and resilience you've gained. They might feel the impact of your absence more deeply than they expected because they're confronted with the void left by your care and attention. This isn't about seeking revenge or validation, but about recognizing the natural consequences of your actions. By choosing to value yourself, you indirectly encourage others to do the same. To rebuilding your self-esteem and independence is ultimately about reclaiming your power. It's about understanding that you're the author of your own story and that you have the ability to shape your life in meaningful ways. This journey isn't always easy, but it's profoundly rewarding because it leads you to a place of greater self-awareness, fulfillment, and peace. You come to see that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself, and that by nurturing this relationship, you open the door to a life that's rich, vibrant, and true to who you are. When you stop caring excessively about someone who has taken your affection for granted, the most profound change often occurs in how they begin to perceive and react to your absence. This isn't necessarily about manipulation or games, rather it reflects a natural shift in dynamics when one person withdraws the energy they've been pouring into someone who has failed to reciprocate or appreciate it. The silence, the newfound boundaries, and the focus on self often create a stark contrast that forces the other person to confront their own feelings, actions, or even regrets. Initially, they might not notice the difference. If they've grown used to your unwavering attention or support, they may take it for granted, assuming you'll always be there. But as time passes and the absence of your care becomes more evident, the impact begins to sink in. It's in this space that their internal dialogue begins to shift. Where they once felt secure in your presence, they might now feel a void. Questions start to arise in their mind. Why did you stop reaching out? Have they lost their place in your life? Could they have underestimated your value? This change in perception is a natural response to the law of scarcity. When something is readily available, its importance is often overlooked. But when it's gone, its true value becomes apparent. By stepping back and prioritizing yourself, you create a space where they must confront the reality of what your absence means. They begin to realize the depth of your contributions, not just in tangible terms, like the things you did for them, but also in the emotional and mental support you provided. As this realization sets in, it often triggers a range of emotions in the other person. They might feel regret for not valuing you enough when they had the chance. They might experience confusion or even frustration, wondering why the dynamic has changed. And in some cases, they might feel a sense of loss, recognizing that they've let go of someone who genuinely cared for them. These emotions can be powerful motivators for introspection and growth, not just in how they view you, but also in how they approach relationships in general. The silence you've embraced has its own kind of power. Without the noise of constant communication or effort from your side, they're left alone with their thoughts. This can be an uncomfortable but necessary experience, as it forces them to confront aspects of themselves they might have avoided. They may begin to see patterns in their behavior, how they've pushed people away, failed to communicate effectively, or taken others for granted. In this way, your decision to step back not only benefits you, but also has the potential to spark growth and self-awareness in them. However, it's important to remember that their response is not your responsibility or goal. The purpose of stepping back is to reclaim your energy, focus on your well-being, and build a life that's fulfilling and aligned with your values. Whether they realize your worth or not is secondary. What truly matters is that you're no longer pouring your energy into a relationship or dynamic that depletes you. Instead, you're channeling that energy into yourself, into your passions, goals, and personal growth. This newfound focus on yourself can lead to incredible transformations. As you invest in your own happiness and success, you start to radiate a kind of confidence and self-assurance that's deeply attractive. Others begin to take notice, not just the person you step back from, but also friends, colleagues, or even new romantic interests. This isn't about seeking attention or validation, but about living authentically and fully. When you're happy and fulfilled, it naturally draws others to you. In some cases, the person you step back from might try to re-enter your life. They might reach out, apologize, or attempt to rekindle the connection. While this can be a validating experience, it's essential to approach it with clarity and intention. Ask yourself whether their intentions align with your values and whether the relationship truly serves your well-being. It's okay to set boundaries or even say no if reconnecting doesn't feel right for you. Remember, the goal isn't to go back to old patterns, but to create a life that reflects your newfound self-respect and independence. Ultimately, this journey is about rediscovering your power and recognizing that you don't need someone else's validation to feel whole or worthy. By stepping back and focusing on yourself, you send a powerful message not just to others, but also to yourself that you deserve to be valued and treated with respect. This realization can be life-changing as it sets the foundation for healthier, more fulfilling relationships in the future. As you continue to prioritize your well-being and growth, you might find that the very things you once sought from others are now things you provide for yourself. This sense of self-sufficiency is incredibly liberating because it frees you from the need for external approval. It allows you to approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than need, giving you the confidence to choose connections that truly enhance your life. And in doing so, you set a standard not just for how others treat you, but also for how you treat yourself.